Hi there, this is Ronnie coming at you with a video. The saga It Does doth endeth. Regular viewers to this channel will have seen a couple of videos about one of my players who was on the spectrum, and essentially I did one video about the possibility of him coming into the game, and then a few months later I did an update because even though he'd been playing the game for months, the sort of rudimentary basics of Savage Worlds had eluded him. My friend Stephen mentioned doing a cheat sheet, just a quick sort of the basics on a sheet, which I took his advice and did exactly that. But even when armed with a cheat sheet, the fundamental basics of the system were still defeating him. Add to that, he wasn't really engaging with the players, and we tried. But on Sunday, it went to a whole different level. His character had gotten possessed by a demon. Now, the demon had manifested whole, kind of ripped out of him. But he was sort of hanging on the possibility of death, but he wasn't dead. And one of the other players prayed to her god for intervention, because the town that they were in, because of this demon, the town they were in was on fire. And the fire was spreading. So the god was essentially eyeing up the fact that they were looking for intervention. They were looking for people's sort of lives to be saved who would probably die otherwise. So as a balance of the books, the god demanded one of two sacrifices. One sacrifice was the life of this player's character, who was on the verge of death, and while she was praying to this character, she had this dwarf in her arms. And the god was sort of saying, we are pleased with your sacrifice. And she's like, oh, what? Oh. Or, as an alternate, because they had been transported some 15 years in the past, they were given the option that they could give up any hope of ever returning to their own time. Sacrificing any possibility of reuniting with family and friends. To save the town. So, playing at my friendly local gaming store as we do, they went outside. One of my players smoked, so they went outside for a cigarette break, and to discuss the situation outside of my earshot, which I encourage. After a couple of minutes, he came back in. Now, I would have to say he stormed back in, came up to the table and he was shouting the odds. I will not die for this town. And he was very loud, and it was very obnoxious and very aggressive. To the point where the proprietor, the staff at the shop, was sort of going, it did have that had a particular effect on someone that they've asked me not to talk about it, so I'm not going to. Suffice it to say, it was quite upsetting for someone who was there. I dealt with the situation best I could at the time. But after the session ended, I had a sit down with the players. I then had a longer discussion with the players on Facebook. And I also, because I didn't want any action that I took to be a reflex. I wanted to reflect properly on things and come to a decision. And I also asked for help from some GMs online, namely a pair of geeks. It's Jason and Becky, and also Phil, the sort of group that I play with online. And the conclusion I came to after listening to my players and then listening to sort of wise counsel was yesterday I asked this individual to leave the group. Wasn't happy about it. I take no pleasure in it. But the players had become so frustrated with him, and it had become so difficult. But we kind of arrived at a conclusion. We kind of think why he does what he does. And our belief is he's someone who is better suited for games that have a beginning, a middle, and end in a session. D&D Adventures League, Pathfinder Society style games, where it's a series of connected one-shots rather than what I'm doing, which is a rather big storyline, multi-session story. He took it well. Which was fine. Wasn't really bothered if he didn't take it well, but he took it well. But it was necessary. People were becoming increasingly upset with him. He wasn't engaging as a player. As I say, he was upsetting people, and that's for me a no-no at the table. Fun life being a GM, isn't it? So yeah, here endeth the video. Hopefully the the next video will, the next video on RPGs will be a little more positive. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll be back soon with another video.